Live. I'm Yantis Green. We are at the stables at Fort Concho. We'll be here again tonight for a candidate forum, but I have a special guest today, August Pfluger. Congressman August Pfluger from CD11 is here, and thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. I know you've been busy. There's some issues going on in Washington, and what brings you to town?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that are important to highlight today. The first and foremost, we're going to visit Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring the Republican whip, Steve Scalise from Louisiana, and Congressman Tony Gonzalez from a district just south of us to the base and show them how important it is, that relationship between the community and the base and what the base does to train intelligence personnel, fire personnel that are keeping our country safe.
Great. Steve Scalise is a name that some folks may know because he was involved in that unfortunate shooting at a baseball game. How's he doing?
He's doing well. You wouldn't know it, but his personal story after that shooting and I think the courage that it has taken for him to continue to lead in the way that he does, the manner and the character and integrity. He's an amazing leader. It's very important that we show him Goodfellow and what this country does to keep tabs on threats. And if there's anybody that knows something about threats, it's obviously somebody like Steve Scalise, who was the victim of just a horrific shooting. That's correct.
Goodfellow's going through some changes. We hope there are some things through the DAG grants out there, maybe enhancing the missions and stuff. Are y'all looking at that kind of thing as well as the overall base?
Yeah, we are. And there's a lot of things that I think the conversations this afternoon will lead to. But obviously the mission is so important to understand. What are we currently doing? Is it meeting the threat and the worldwide kind of environment and what needs to happen to keep our country safe? I mean, we're facing threats everywhere.
Yeah, unfortunately, under the current administration, some tensions have heightened in certain places, and we'll get to the Ukraine in just a minute. But this is a linguistics base. It's an intelligence base. I think there's only two others that do what Goodfellow does. I'm clueless as to what they do, but I have toured the base, and I went out there one time. And one of their assignments, the airmen who were going to class there, was to write our name in whatever language they were learning, and mine happened to be the Farsi. So he wrote my name in Farsi, and I still have that little slip of paper, and that was really cool. But let's switch gears and talk about what's going on around the world right now. The Ukraine is a tremendous threat to the entire world. Do you know anything new today? What's going on with Russia, the Ukraine, and our involvement?
Yeah, well, Yantis, I recently visited Ukraine. I was able to talk to President Zelensky, the foreign minister, the defense minister, a lot of their senior leaders. That what they expressed to me was, number one, this isn't all about Ukraine. Okay. It actually applies to China. China is watching. Our adversaries are watching, but also our partners are watching. Okay. What's the resolve of the Western world? Because there is a challenge to the status quo, and that status quo, the greatest generation, probably like our grandparents and parents that fought in World War II, they preserved world order, and the challenge to world order is coming front and center on the world stage in 2022. And that's what the tie to Goodfellow right now is, being able to keep tabs on those threats and understand where those threats are going to affect us right here at home, where they're going to affect our partners and our allies. The second thing that they told me was that energy and energy independence, energy security, because that is national security, that is what has really led to this situation. We're in an environment of weakness. Our president has led us down this primrose path. He has not sustained the position of advantage that we had even just a little over a year ago. And I think that's why we're here.
Now, part of that is the Russian pipeline that's been approved and the XL pipeline that was nixed on day one. Mm-hmm. Being in the energy business, the Permian Basin is in your district, our district. That is big for everyone here, the local economy, everybody that lives and works and plays in San Angelo. Let's talk about that energy threat globally first, and then let's get back to the Permian Basin.
Well, they're one and the same. What the Permian does, the shale revolution that we had 10 years ago, the ability to provide affordable, reliable energy here domestically, but also to our partners and allies. I sit on foreign affairs, and the countries that border Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Ukraine, all of them have visited my office, and they are asking for more United States LNG that is produced right here in the Permian Basin. So when you have a situation where the Nord Stream pipeline has gone around Ukraine, around their borders, and now is choking off their supply of energy and forcing, through market manipulation, higher prices, this is a very, very strategic tool that Putin has used. He has woven this web, and he has basically entangled Europe in a situation where they are now dependent on Russia for their energy needs.
Okay. That's the energy threat and the existential threat. We're going through an election here at home. It's a midterm election, so you're up because you're up every 2 years. And fortunately for you, you don't have any opponents. You're running, there's not even a Democrat opponent, is there?
That's correct.
Okay. So last time there were 11 of you, and that was a whole different ballgame. And we were talking earlier. I don't know how you would run a campaign and be in Washington facing all these issues at the same time. It must be a tremendous load.
Well, my mindset from day one when we announced that we were going to run for this seat and through the first year of Congress has been to work as hard as I possibly can for the needs of this district to communicate that whether it's agriculture, Goodfellow Air Force Base, or what we do in the Permian Basin, the energy business, that all of those are national security issues. And I've tried very hard to represent those things, to represent the district. We've got a lot of problems. We talked about border security earlier, but every single day, whether it's here in the district or in Washington, D.C., I'm trying to represent this district in a way that secures our economy, secures our borders, secures the prosperity for our kids and the next generation. And trust me, there's a lot of work to be done on all of those issues.
Absolutely, it never ends. Your district changed with redistricting. We lost Hood County, but we gained some in another direction. So how does that stand? Have you talked to your new constituents?
I have. We had 29 counties, and I currently represent those, and I will continue to represent all 29 of the original counties until the time where we switch over next year. But we are excited, and as sad as I am to lose certain counties, I understand that's part of the process, and I will forever, love the district that I currently represent, but I'm excited to also represent Lampasas and Bell County. Okay. And speaking of national security, Bell County is host to Fort Hood.
Yes.
One of the most important military installations, and so there's a unique tie, being a veteran, and being able to represent a veteran community that also does the business of keeping our country safe. I'm excited about that.
That really makes the 11th Congressional District a pretty serious military-based district.
Yeah, it really does. While we don't have the actual base, we have a majority of the both military and civilian workforce at that base. And so it's, even if you don't have the geographic lines of the base, it's very important to represent the families that work there, the military personnel.
Well, and that brings up, we've had candidate forum after candidate forum after candidate forum here, and love the process, and we learn a lot. And they talk a lot about the interstates that are coming to San Angelo, and Interstate 14 is the ports to forts, which is Highway 190 coming from Mississippi, I think right by Fort Hood to San Angelo and on to Midland.
Yeah, you can drive into Bell County right now and you can see I-14 signs, and it actually exists there. And I think, probably one of the reasons that these forums are talking about it is because as this country continues to change and shift in the economic needs, we can see trade and supply chains being so critical, and they're stopped up right now, and that's a whole separate issue, but it does take logistics, it takes those interstate highway systems, and I wish that our bipartisan bills had been a little bit better. I think there's still need, for actual roads and bridges and highways and rural broadband.
Right.
But I think that first swing at the ball was made in this Congress. I wasn't happy with all of it, but certainly there are pieces of it that will benefit our economy here.
Well, and that's a big deal. Our friend, my boss, Joe Hyde, is a candidate, and he talks about broadband internet at every forum, and the need for access to broadband internet, and not just to San Angelo, but to the outlying rural areas as well. There's some federal funding involved with that's filtering through the state, as I understand it.
There is, and I think the trick right now is the accountability. Where's that money being spent? Is it actually working to go that last mile? You'll hear that term, the last mile, okay, to connect our rural communities to the broadband and the needs. Because whether you're a farmer, a rancher, or just living in a rural area, or have children who are going to school, I view this maybe a little bit differently than some. Look at what China has done in the cyber domain. They have made a lot of gains, and all of their country is now achieving access to this high-speed broadband and the ability, to participate in this. So this is a national security issue.
We need to be able to participate,
yes,
and compete globally with China.
That's right.
So
it certainly is.
So the internet is broadband internet's a part of that. I do a lot of campaign interviews, live stream things, and the last thing I do is just open the mic and say, okay, you've had my questions. Now, what's on your mind? What do you want to tell the folks out there? So I'm going to shut up and let you tell them what's on your mind, what's on your plate.
Well, thank you. It's been a great conversation. We're obviously excited about Congressman Steve Scalise and Tony Gonzalez being here to see Goodfellow, but I think what I would say is, first off, thank you for the trust that you put in me and my family to represent you in Washington, D.C. I take it very seriously. What this district does is unmatched throughout the country, and I appreciate your prayers and support and the ability to represent such an important district in D.C. Second, thank you for what you do for our military personnel, to support our law enforcement, our first responders. It is so important in this environment that we support them. Having Goodfellow here, it's a blessing to our community, but let me tell you what, those airmen, soldiers, sailors, and Marines that leave here and depart and go out into the wide world and who are deployed right now protecting our own interest, our country and our borders, they know it and they appreciate what this community does, whether it's through the churches, the schools, or just individual families. And that's such a blessing to those military families and the military personnel. And lastly, I would just ask you to pray for our country. This country needs a lot of prayers right now.
Yes, it does.
The issues we have at our own borders, making sure that we focus on keeping our country secure. This is, as a Republican, this is sometimes hard for me to think about, but I'd ask you to pray for the president and all leaders right now, that we would heal this country, come together, and focus on the things that we're going to be talking about this afternoon, and that is national security issues, whether it's our economy and how we're doing right here in San Angelo, or whether it's abroad in places that may be foreign to us, but we need to keep a vigilant eye out towards. But I think that this environment of weakness that we've seen, the healing that leaders can bring together, will keep our country more secure.
All right, great. August, thanks for taking time to visit with us this afternoon. I know you have a busy schedule. Come back anytime.
Thank you very much, Yantis.
Thanks,
I
August.
appreciate it.
For San Angelo Live, I'm Yantis Green.